Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and I'm very happy to introduce our guest today. They are a U.S. Air Force TEDx speaker, master resilient implementer, and suicide awareness trainer, as well as a business position strategist, international podcast host of Create, Launch, Monetize podcast, and of course, a best-selling author. They do everything. He's a suicide survivor who hit rock bottom. He believes that you were created with a purpose, and once you unlock your true potential, you'll elevate your life, which is why he founded the Success Core. Our guest works with entrepreneurs, speakers, and business owners to improve their positioning in the market, increase their profitability, while decreasing anxiety and stress within their business so that it thrives. Please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for a good friend and fellow podcaster, Sean Douglas.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
It's Friday. It's a great day.
Yeah.
Looking forward to getting on the road and heading out to Michigan for my third TEDx talk on Wednesday.
Boom. Let's go, brother. I love that. I love having TEDx speakers on the podcast because I can use it in the hashtags and blow up a bit more.
There you go.
All the marketing tips getting you free. But Sean, I gave you a great intro, but I want to hear it from you. Introduce yourself to my audience, please.
Yeah, man. Joined the U.S. Air Force at 18. Retired at 38. My last day of duty was December 1st of 2021. And during that time, I built 4 businesses, 2 of which I sold. And I even sold a radio show.
Nice.
So yeah, I started Life Transformation Radio in 2017, 476 episodes later. It got sold. And then I started 2 more podcasts. And now I host 3.
Nice. I love that. I love using podcasting to grow your business and create businesses from it. I'm a big proponent of it. And I like the idea that you sold the podcast that we're going to touch on. But before we go into anything, why did you had a cushy job? You're working in the military. Obviously there's you're working in the Air Force. There's some danger involved, obviously, military. But why did you decide to create side hustles and businesses?
Well, I actually needed some money. And funny story.
You're saying the military doesn't pay enough?
Oh, no, not even close. So I was stationed in England. And this is the time where foam parties and glow stick parties and techno and happy hardcore and house music. I mean, this is you go into a club and you just go, man. You just go hard. So I was always drinking double vodka and Red Bulls. It's amazing. And I had glow sticks and all the ladies were like, hey, so it was just, man, it was such a good time. We always went to the same club, me and my buddies. We always had the glow sticks. You always knew we were there, crowded around us. And I had the best pickup line ever. I was like, what's up, girl? I'm an American. And they loved it, everything that was happening. And I loved everything that was happening, all the attention and everything. And I said, man, I got to create a business around this. So I became a DJ and I started DJing around England. Then I started DJing when I left England in Idaho. And then we built an entertainment company DJing weddings, parties, award ceremonies. We were the AV video guys over at conferences, summits, events, all that stuff.
All while still in the military.
Yep. It became a $650K business a year by 2007 and 2008. And then everything crashed in 2008. And we were doing okay, but then I developed a drinking problem in 2007 and I started misusing funds. And then I got bought out and it was just really ugly. 2008 was just really ugly. So I had I threw this monster bash and I should have done it at my house, but I did it at my house, had a really big house at like the base of the mountains in Utah. And I had about 120 people there. And we had this huge, massive St. Patrick's Day party. And my house burned down. And then everybody I thought were my friends left me. And then I was homeless. I slept in my car for a couple days. And I started relying, like, hey, man, like, can you help me? They're like, oh, no, sorry, man, you're too crazy. Like, your lifestyle is great. You know, everybody was just like, nah. So the military was going to kick me out as well. And they're like, dude, you got a severe drinking problem. Your side business is becoming like more than your military job. Like, you need to make a decision. And then all of 2007, I was like going through like rehab, or what we call ADAPT, alcohol and drug abuse prevention and treatment. I went through that. And then I was still like trying to run the business and trying to do things. And then by a year later, March of 2008, they were like, yeah, you're done. Like, I'm still not changing. So my wife had enough. We're arguing and fighting and everything else. And then by October of 2008, she had filed for divorce. She left, took the kids. I'm in a big house by myself. And then I was drinking even more, and the military was kicking me out. My hearing was coming up because I showed up to work drunk on duty. And I was just living a rock star lifestyle. So all I cared about was how people thought about me. That's all I cared about. And I thrived off that stuff until people didn't want anything to do with me anymore. And then I basically put my whole life in other people's thoughts and feelings about me. And then when they didn't care anything about me, then I didn't care anything about myself. So that message is, stop caring about what other people think about you and care more about how you think about you.
So important.
Not in like an ego way, but like in an adult, emotionally mature way.
Don't think you're the rock star when
Right.
you may not be the rock star. Just realize someone who
Right.
says, oh, you're a dick. Maybe take a look inside and see, are you really a dick?
Right. Don't be showing everybody. It's like all these Facebookpreneurs right now, right? Like, don't show everybody your rented Lambos and your rented jets or your, you know, whatever. Don't show caviar when you actually eat ramen noodles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Authenticity. And I was not authentic, and people saw right through the crap. So in 2008, December, it was like Christmas Eve. I was by myself. You know, I can't have the kids. And so I was like, screw it. My life's over. And so I put a gun in my mouth and I was like, I'm done. And then my military brothers came and found me because I didn't check into work for a couple of days. And so they were super concerned. And then that's when people were like, oh crap, this is pretty serious. And then they got me more therapy and anger management and like all the stuff that I really needed. And from the beginning of 2009 until years, man, it was like 16, 17, 18. I was sober. And then I felt comfortable enough to where, like, I think I'm emotionally mature to handle alcohol, you know, and like, I'll do it in a safe way or whatever. But it was when I broke my sobriety the first time, it was like everything was going great. You know, the TEDx talk was coming, business was thriving, like everything was great. And somebody had a glass of wine and they're like, do you want to? I was like, no, like I'm sober, you know, and they're like, it's just a glass of wine. I'm like, you're right. It is a glass of wine. It's not like I'm drinking like shots and everything else. But I told him, I said, but I go hard. I'm like Frank the Tank. Like I go hard in the paint. And so I was drinking, like my wife was there, and like, I'm not that guy that's like, come on, feed me more. Like, that's how I used to be. But I was like, let me see. Cause I want to really remain cognizant of like how I am, you know what I mean? And so I never drink like now. Like, I don't just be like, I want a beer. Like, I'm going to go drink or whatever. Like, I don't. Like, I've got myself to a point where I don't rely on alcohol. If I feel like having a glass of wine or a beer or whatever, like I'll do that, but I don't do hard liquor.
No, I understand. I'm at the
all.
same point now as well.
And I think that comes with a level of emotional maturity. And then, you know, they say that alcoholism is a disease, and you know, I'm never going to dispute science. I'm just saying that I trained myself to not think that alcohol is the problem solver, or that alcohol is going to give me superpowers, or that the ladies love me when I'm drinking, or any of the other stuff that I thought. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it became a point of like, then why do it? Like, why do people smoke? Oh, I'm hooked. Like, are you though? Like, are you really hooked on cigarettes or like whatever, right? And I've gotten a lot of people to quit. They just don't like rely on like, that makes me feel good. Well, what else makes you feel good? What else could you do? Put the energy where it's going to replace that one bad habit. Because what happens is, and I didn't know this, that I chewed on straws, pretzels, suckers, like anything. I quit smoking, I quit drinking, but it made me like super nervous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really just want to drink and I really want to, because I liked how it made me feel.
Mhm.
And when I replaced the feeling of whatever it was when I was drinking or smoking, whatever, I just replaced that feeling with something more positive. And then it was like, well, I don't even need that anymore. And I still think about it. I'm like, man, like what a nice glass of whiskey would do. Like, what's some whiskey, but I overpower it and I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I just replace it with something else. Some people work hard. Some people get a hobby. Some people do, they go exercise, they go running, whatever. So that's what I did. And that's what I do every time. When I'm feeling sad, I replace it. And I've taken so many emotional intelligence classes, and I've done disc profile and Myers-Briggs and 4 lenses and all these behavioral things. And I've just trained myself that when I feel like the world is on me, when I feel like everything is going wrong, how can I replace that feeling? And Tony Robbins talks a lot about it. Like, where focus goes, energy flows. If I really want that drink, then I'm going to put energy towards trying to get that drink. But let's put your energy towards something else. Let's put it towards something else as an accomplishment. Let's put the energy and focus into something more positive. And then I'm not so worried about it anymore. If I happen to have a drink, I happen to have a drink. Like, it's not even a big deal to me anymore.
I like, have just a, wow. There was so much in that. That was like so much gold, so much knowledge. Thank you so much for like sharing that story.
Yeah,
I think a
man.
lot of my audience will resonate with that because it's like you can do it. Like you can overcome anything. Like you got that fear of starting your business, just replace it with the feeling of success that business is going to bring you.
Yep.
Or sending that email that gets that client, or asking for help and getting the help, the amazing help that you can get from that.
Yeah. Talk about investing in yourself, man. Like, you got to replace, the negatives with the positives. Right. And it literally, you have to invest in you, like in your emotions, in your mindset, in your body. If you feel like, hey, I don't have enough time to get all this stuff done, then don't watch TV that day. If you feel like I'm not sleeping enough, then go to bed earlier or go to the gym. Or, I mean, what I'm saying? Like every single habit that you have can be replaced with something else. And the problem is you start to gain weight after you are done smoking because you're eating all the time, because it's a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got another challenge to overcome. And then you start gaining weight. And at one time I went from like 175, 180 pounds to like 220. Yeah. And now I'm back under like 200 pounds and like, I feel great. And I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, this year I'm going to be 40. Like, I don't feel 40. My knees and my back feel 40 or 50 years from the military. But my mindset is like, I don't feel 40. When I was a kid and I saw 40-year-olds, I'm like, dang, they're old. But I don't feel any different. I just don't.
I want to know what led you to Life Transformational Radio. Mm-hmm. You created that because obviously you were going through transformations. You wanted to help people. You heard their amazing stories. You get the opportunity. How did you get the opportunity to sell it?
Funny story. So I speak at every podcast event in the country except for like Podcast Movement. I've never spoken there. But I speak it. Well, we'll see. So I speak at PodFest, Outliers Podcast Festival. I was named an icon of influence in the new media space at an event called New Media Summit. I've been to Indie PodCon, Indie Pod United. I mean, all the podcast events I go. And so a lot of people, I've helped a lot of people launch their shows. And people look at me, they're like you can see it in Facebook groups or some of the stuff on social media, like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a show. And I'm like the first one that gets tagged, or, you know, I'm somewhere in the tagging of, you know, and it's always the same people. It's always the same people that are getting tagged. Like, he knows everything and he knows this, and get with this guy and, you know, whatever. And so I put out a video and I was like, hey, everyone, I'm retiring from the military. And the problem is that Life Transformation Radio is a live online radio show 4 days a week. I just don't think I can continue 4 days a week doing a live show. And I don't want to do my audience an injustice by just recording something and uploading it like a traditional podcast. I love the live show, live feeling. And I know that you do too, because a lot of you call into the show to talk to the guests or to answer questions. So here's what I want to do, man. I really want to sell my show, and I don't want to just have it die with me. The last 2 guests that I had on my show was Mark Victor Hansen from the Chicken Soup books and Bruce Kulick, one of the guitar players from Kiss from the 80s. And I ended that show in 476. And then the very next couple days, like, I was interviewed like the next like 2 days with the host. The host interviewed me, and then he took over, and he's still doing it. And he's well over 500 now. He's close to 600 now.
Amazing.
And he's like, I'll have you back on in episode 1000. I'm like, yeah. He's like somewhere in the 600s. And so he doesn't do it 4 days a week. He cut down to like 2 days a week or whatever, which is fine. It's still live, just on a different, it's live a different way. Kind of like StreamYard or Twitch or whatever. He just uses a different like kind of software. So I don't think they can call into the show, but he definitely gets messages and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I just put it out there, and then people made me offers, and then I sold it for 5 figures.
Amazing. Oh my God, I love that. So then you started 2 other podcasts, and now you're hosting 3. What are the podcasts that you host right now?
So right after I sold Life Transformation Radio, my business partner was like, hey, I have an idea for a great podcast. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. No, dude, no. And he's like, no, we're going to make a ton of money. I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, what are we doing? He's like, all right, man, we have to come up with a formula about creating, launching, and monetizing, because you talk a lot about that. I'm like, right. And I have a formula for that. He's like, cool, let's put it into a podcast. So we did a 5-day challenge that was like the first 5 episodes of our podcast. And we made well over 10 grand in those 5 days. And I was like, what? So we charged $55 for the 5-day challenge, and over 20 people bought through that system. So there was like 20 times 5, what's that, like $1,000 or something?
Mm.
And then we had a $34.97 offer that was like, take what we did in these, and it was like 7 days. Like, our challenge was actually like 7 days or 8 days or whatever, because we had like a bonus coaching day, you know? So we did our first 2 days, and then we had a meet on our 3rd day. Then we did day 3 on like day 4. And then we did bonus coaching, one-on-one bonus or group, whatever, bonus coaching day. Then we did a day 5. And then we said, hey, if you join us tomorrow, we have an offer for you, and we're going to do a bonus coaching offer. And they're like, cool. So some people didn't show up, like 1 or 2 people, I think, didn't even show up. They're like, I'm good. And I said, we're going to coach everybody for free again. We're going to coach you through the process, but we're going to hit you with an offer. If you want to hear the offer now, you can hear it now. But if you want to hear it tomorrow, we're going to give you the full offer tomorrow. And they said, okay, well, what's the offer? But majority was like, well, give me the offer now. And I said, we're going to take what we created for you in those 5 days, and we're going to work with you for 90 days to implement it. And they're like, I'm in. They're like, okay, see us tomorrow. So we did our day 5, which was learning and training and coaching. And then we did our day 6. And then I hit them with the for real offer with a bonus. And they were like, holy crap. So 4 people took that $34.97 offer, and that was like 13 grand or whatever. So all in all, it was like a $14,000 8-day challenge.
Nice. That's a nice little pocket change.
Right. And so we created like 2 or 3 businesses. We created 4 podcasts, 2 coaching programs, and like a couple businesses.
And now you're just sitting, relaxing, enjoying life.
And well, yeah. But I mean, you could do challenges. I mean, just do a 5-day challenge, $55, 5-day challenge. All the information gets emailed out, through whatever system you want to use. It doesn't matter. You sign up on like a landing page. The system doesn't matter. Drop funnels, click funnel. Like, it doesn't matter. You could literally do a Wix website, single pager, and then have like your PayPal and Stripe and Venmo, and like any way that you want to do it, just do it. But yeah, you do the 55 days and you do day 1, day 2 coaching, training or whatever. And we had video. So we created, me and my business partner created the episode of the podcast. And then that was the video they watched. They watched the podcast. And then we had coaching the next day, like that evening on that video. And then day 2, they got sent another video. And they said, join us for coaching on what you learned in this video. And then we did the coaching. And then day 3, we were like, we're going to do nothing but coaching for 2 hours. Day 3, which was actually the 4th day, was episode 3 of the podcast. And then we had coaching in the afternoon. And then we had another day the next day of episode 4 of the podcast. And then coaching of that. You see what I'm saying? And so we created the Create, Launch, Monetize podcast that shows you how to create, launch, and monetize podcasts, books, speaking businesses, online or offline businesses, and coaching programs, products, and services. If you want to create and launch and monetize it, we show you how. And now our podcast is where we interview those people we worked with and other people, high-ranking people like millionaires and famous people, whatever. Like, what did you create? Like, how did you launch it? It's like, oh, this is how we did. Like, just how I explained the 5-day challenge. People explain, like, here's what I did. I went to Bob at Bank of America. I got a $10,000 loan. I split up $1,000 here, whatever. How did you launch your real estate business? Well, I bought a house and then I rented it out. And then this dude like slept in his car in the street in front of the house and Airbnb'd his house. And then he made enough money to buy an RV, and he parked the RV in front of the house and Airbnb'd the house. And then a for sale came up at a house down the street. He bought that house and Airbnb'd that house and still lived in the RV. And now the dude owns like half the street. Every time a house came up for sale on that street, he bought it and Airbnb's it. It's crazy. And now he's got a really nice house. So he got rid of the RV. But I mean, that's how he did it. Like,
it's the sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? And he was
man.
willing to sacrifice living in a car for a year or 2 to save up. Because like when no one's there, go in, shower, shave, live in the house when no one's Airbnb-ing it.
Exactly what he did. Yep. And then our other podcast is based off of our best-selling book, From No Worth to Self-Worth. And that is all about how to find your value and your self-worth in the deepest, darkest night of the soul. And then our third podcast is for our nonprofit called One Life Fully Lived. And the show is called Dream It, Plan It, Live It Podcast. Because that's what we do. We teach people how to live and dream their best life.
Damn. Definitely going to have those links in the show notes down below because I'm already going to be a fan. Sean, I want to know, do you have a memory from all the time you've been an entrepreneur, right, where that cements why you started this journey?
Absolutely.
Care to share that with us?
I was speaking at an event about resilience. So I'm a master resilience implementer and a suicide awareness trainer. And I was speaking at an event and I had my books in the back and I said, hey, if you want to talk to me, I'll be in the back. But I did like a 2-hour workshop on resilience. It was for military and civilians, and it was great. And this one person comes up to me afterwards, and I could see they're kind of welling up in the face. I say, "Hey man, how are you? Would you like a book?" And he goes, "I thought this was going to be my last moment. I really thought like, this is it. I don't even know what to do anymore." So he attends my seminar thinking that I'm not going to learn anything, but I'm going to give it one last effort. I had every intention of going home after this seminar and killing myself. I'm like, what? He's like, I had every intention of going home and killing myself, but I don't think I want to do that anymore. And I just grabbed him. I reached out and I grabbed him and I just hugged him as super tight as I could. And I said, "We're here for you. It may not feel like it, but we're here for you." And then he broke down and cried, and I was breaking down, and people around us were like, "Oh my God," like videos and pictures. And it was crazy. And he goes, "You saved my life." And then I broke down again. And then like, it was ugly crying. But that was the greatest moment of my entrepreneur career. Screw the 650, man. Like the 650K a year business, great, awesome. But that moment that trumps everything I've ever done.
Oh, that's an amazing. Oh, I can't wait to have that moment. Like maybe not that I stop someone from passing on, because that's not my area. I'm not doing that kind of transformational life, but a moment where I change someone's life because they listened to a podcast and they were able to start their own business. That's what I'm hoping with this show.
Yeah.
We are coming to the end, and I'm pretty sure if we talked for another 30 minutes, you'd drop more gold than what King Titus or the Midas touch. But we're gonna get the spark question of the show, which is from Seek Discomfort, which is an amazing organization, YouTube channel. You guys should check them out. But what are you most grateful for in life?
The second chance that I had, because I was done. Like, if you think about, if I think about everything that's going on in my life, from childhood abuse and living in an alcohol dominated domestic violence household with drugs and all kinds of stuff, you look at my military career, you look at the suicide moments, you look at everything that's gone on after that, right? I had to have those moments. And then I had to have a story of taking my life and business and all that stuff. I then had to get help. I then had to become a drill instructor to learn how to tell my story, to learn how to become a coach and train and be a trainer and a speaker. I then had to become a master resilience implementer with podcasts and books and seminars and speaking and everything, and have a platform to tell my story on. If I wouldn't have gone through all of that, I would have just been just another regular nobody. You know what I mean? Nothing special about me. Like, I'm just working a 9 to 5 and nothing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you look at everything that happened prior and then everything happened after, I had to go through that stuff so that I could have a story, so that I could learn how to tell my story, and so that I could have a platform to tell my story on, so that I could change lives.
That is one of the best answers I've ever gotten, and I cannot wait to clip that specific part and share it with the Seek Discomfort Nation with their hashtag Spark. Sean, I'm going to jump off screen. Please tell my audience where they can follow you. You know the spiel at the end. You're a podcaster. I'm just going to shut up now and let you do what you do best.
Well, I'm all over social media. On Instagram, it's at The Success Core. LinkedIn's me. Facebook's me. We got a Facebook group, The Success Core Academy, where we're always teaching everything that you need to know about business, about life. And my website is The Success Core, CORPS, thesuccesscore.com. You can check us out. You can also check us out at LYB Clothing Inc., which is our entrepreneur empowerment and affirmation clothing line that we started during the pandemic. And so if you want to listen to any of our podcasts, Create, Launch, Monetize, From No Worth to Self-Worth, Dream It, Plan It, Live It, Everything you need to know about us is all over the internet, and you can just search any one of those or click the show notes below, and you will have access to all of it.
You're not supposed to tell them that the show parts is mine. That's the part of my job. That's not your job. You're just supposed to say the links, and then I say to find those links. Find the links to go to the show notes. I have to send them there, not you. That's my job.
It was
taking over my show. This is what happens when you have.
That would be cool, though. That would be cool. I'm going to start doing that.
Getting the guests to say, check the show notes?
No. I'm going to start doing show takeovers.
Oh, I like that idea.
That's my new thing. I'm going to go host someone else's show for an episode, and they're going to host my show for an episode.
I love that. That's
do show swaps. That, you know how you like, because think about it, like you're like, it's a conversation-based podcast. It's an interview podcast. It's, whatever, right? But unless the guest shares a lot or the host shares a lot,
yeah,
like you don't really get to know like the feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes during game shows or sometimes during the news, you have these guest shows, or if you go to church, they have guest pastors, or like you just get it's another way for someone to interpret the message that you want to receive. Yeah. So you attend podcast episodes and videos or whatever, and it would be like anybody else, any entrepreneur, Jeff Bezos, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, taking over one of somebody else's shows. They're like, oh, this is so good. Like, I love his take on, whatever.
No, it would be amazing. Because like if you were interviewing my entrepreneurs on my show and asking my 4 basic questions, you would be asking them in a different way. Then I would be interviewing them. And the same if I was on your podcast for launch, create and grow, right?
Create, launch, monetize.
Create, launch, and monetize, because I'm going to be asking different questions because I'm in a different place in my life. You're asking higher, more intricate questions. I'm asking like, okay, how did you do this? Like, I don't understand that. Explain that to me.
Yep.
Oh, that's a genius idea.
I know.
And plus, if there, as a podcaster, that gives you an opportunity to showcase your skill as an interviewee
100%
to an audience that may not hear you.
Yeah.
And then they can become fans of your podcast. And that just, that is.
So it's a show takeover. And so I got the idea because when we were in the entertainment company, certain bars and clubs and would do a tap takeover. Basically, a brewery would come in, take over all of the taps, except for like Bud Light, whatever.
The commercial ones.
They would, right. But they would take over the taps and they would showcase their newest brew, or they would have all of their beer on taps, and everybody could just try all those ones. And then whatever one they loved, they would keep those inside the bar, and it'd be like different surveys and like all. It's called a tap takeover.
Genius. Oh my God.
And so now you do podcast takeovers.
I love it. I'm definitely going to be pitching it to my friends. So yeah, you just heard a new special going to happen. So you may hear a guest host, who knows? But if they are there, you know what I'm going to tell you. They're going to thank the guest. Sean, thank you so much for being here and for that awesome idea. Then they're probably going to say, check the show notes, or as Sean said, check the show notes, because all the links to Sean's stuff will be there. And then they're probably going to also tell you to remember to invest in yourself. And then they're going to hit the outro.